It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good day and welcome to the program. It is County-Wide. Brad Miller along with you, and our guest today will be a voice and, for many of you, a face familiar to our radio listeners particularly, and that is Mary Hawks. Mary's director of the Prescott office of the Better Business Bureau, and we say hello to you.
Hello, Brad.
Good to have you here.
Hey,
how about that voice, folks? You know, right there. We talk to you so often. You're so very, very helpful in, throughout the year, and the things that we talk to through the BBB, just talking about things consumers should know and need to know. And it just seems like there's always something out there for the consumer to be aware of and to be concerned about. And holiday time,
indeed,
brings us a whole bunch of those, and that's what we're going to talk about today as we do our program. Black Fridays this Friday, Cyber Mondays, all of these
next Monday,
Super Shopper Sunday, or whatever the heck, but there's a bunch of them. And I guess at the holiday time of year, folks who might wish us ill in our shopping will take advantage of different kinds of things to try to relieve us of our hard-earned cash at the holiday time. So that's what Mary's going to talk about. A little later, we'll talk about charitable gifting. A lot of that activity this time of year. And here again, sometimes you have to be very careful about that. So, but first we say hello. I'm happy to have you here this holiday week.
Indeed, I know. It's hard to believe 2012 is almost over.
I know, so quick. Let's talk about it. You know, we think Thanksgiving, to me, eat a bunch, like any Thursday, but then a little football and all that, and then the shopping is here for so many people.
Yes, indeed.
As we get ready, let's talk about, I guess Friday is the big shopping day. A lot of the retail stores have specials and things like that. We'll just start with one piece of advice. If I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my shopping in person, we'll talk about online in a minute.
Of course.
What do I need to know? Credit card safety comes to my mind. What do you say?
Well, actually, that's pretty much what I was going to say, Brad. But, you want to protect your belongings, whether that's your purse, your wallet, your purchases. Right. Keep them close. Keep an eye on them. When you're using your credit or debit card, make sure you get it back. So watch that closely. Obvious things, and oftentimes too, particularly during holidays, because we're all in a festive mood and we're thinking about buying purchases for grandma, grandsons, whatever. We just want to go out and have fun, but you also want to make sure if it's something like, well, will this fit my grandson or not? Can you return it?
Right.
And sometimes items cannot be returned, or if they can be, maybe it's only for an exchange, maybe it's only for credit in that store. So if you're purchasing something, know what the return and refund policy might be, if there is one.
Pretty much every retail store should, I don't know if they're compelled to tell you that, but if you ask, I would think that certainly they would be willing to.
They are not compelled to. What you hope is that there is something posted near the register or checkout, or that there's something on your receipt. But if it's something you're thinking, I'm not sure this is the right size, or we might want to return it, know up front before you purchase it. Because after the fact, once you go back to the store and they say, well, no, the sign was right here, no refunds, gift store credit only, you want to know that up front.
And similarly, for after you've given the gift, in our family, we understand. My sister is impossible to buy for. I always include a receipt, not with the gift, but hold on to it. We have no problem with exchanges.
Keep the receipt.
So beyond,
But not only for that, for possible returns, but let's say you put it on your credit card, you get your credit card bill, and you see you've been charged twice for it, or maybe it was for a different amount than your receipt actually shows. Actually, this just happened to me recently. I received a bill in the mail, and I thought, I paid that bill.
Yeah.
I pulled out my credit card receipt. I thought, yep, here's the date. I paid it. I went to the merchant and said, look, I paid this bill. And they said, oh. So keep your receipt. It's proof that you've paid it, the amount you've paid it, that your signature is on it. So that is important, particularly if you use your credit card and later have a dispute. You want to have that receipt as proof of the purchase.
Do these little disputes seem to occur a bit more to me, we've never had one until the last year, I'd say, and we've had a couple where one was exactly that. We were charged twice, and the second one, there was some kind of a fishy deal that we had to call and all this. Are you getting any reports or upticks on just that?
Well, to answer
do you have a way to gauge that?
Your question, Brad, statistically, I can't give you an answer on that. But in terms of the calls we get, experience of myself and family and friends, it happens. Now, sometimes it's just plain an honest mistake. That's all it comes down to. And you call it to the merchant's attention, and they're happy to resolve it. Then there are the cases where maybe it's kind of a slimier deal, and they're just, you know, they've got your credit card number, and they're going to, maybe a dishonest employee is going to try to use that. So you want to keep those receipts in case that happens. And if it doesn't, okay, then appropriate time for you, you shred them, but
you gotta look
at least that way you have the information.
Look out for yourself.
Yes.
It's, again, with folks going out into the stores and that kind of thing, a lot of people will be used. I think the only time of year I use an ATM anymore is during holidays.
Okay.
And we should be careful. There's all kinds of ways that we can run into troubles at the ATMs.
Well, with ATMs, often can happen at ATMs, sometimes at gas stations too. There might be what are called skimmers.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, when you go to an ATM, you're putting your card in there and either expecting cash, or if you're paying for gas, you're putting in card in there and charging for the gas. You want to look at the well, I'm going to back up a second. You want to use a well-lit public place.
Sure.
You know, if it's a little ATM machine in this little dark hallway in an area you're not familiar with, you might not want to use that one.
Yeah.
So let's say you're using it. What some criminals will do is they will put their skimmers, and that skimmer is a small device that is used to run that credit card information. But maybe they will attach their skimmer to the ATM, so, and it may look like it's part of the actual machine, so that maybe when you're going up, you're actually putting your card into the criminal's skimming machine rather than the actual bank. Now, there are some ways you can safeguard with that. Is if you're going, hopefully using a familiar place, but maybe with the holidays, traveling out of town, it may be in places unfamiliar to you. Look at the machine and see if that area where you're putting the credit card is secure and part of the machine, as opposed to something that's been added on that kind of wiggles, that is loose.
Gotcha.
Now, unfortunately, criminals can, you know, change the way they do things and perhaps, you know, try to get into the actual machine. So nothing is 100% foolproof or safeguarded, but those are some steps that you can take to see if that's wiggles or suspect at all. Go use another machine.
Be vigilant about protecting yourself.
Yes.
Mary, let's go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, we will talk about online shopping. I think statistically the numbers just keep getting bigger and bigger. More and more of us are spending more and more shopping online, whether it's for holidays or just any other time. Our guest is Mary Hawks, Better Business Bureau, Prescott office. We'll be back right after this.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I was in junior high the first time I caught my mom using denial. She had to have known her painkillers were missing because I kept stealing them. Her denial was so out of hand.
So she doesn't even know? I'm going out.
It was like I could get away with anything.
You kids have fun.
And that was when I knew. When she was addicted to denial.
Denial is a drug. Get help. The partnership at drugfree.org.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Now, some action from the courts. Billie Jean King renewing her rivalry with Arthritis. First set, furious volley, and right to the net for a winner. Beautiful forehand there. Arthritis, stunned. And here, match point. Billie Jean with the ace, taking it in straight sets. Afterwards, a jubilant Billie Jean King.
Tennis is a weapon for me with arthritis. There's nothing like it for me to hit a ball, run to the ball, anytime, any court. I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your weapon against arthritis? Find out at fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to the program. Mary Hawks, our guest today, director of the office, the Prescott office, the Better Business Bureau, and some shopping tips, how to be safe this holiday season. And you can be run into trouble even sitting at home in your own home office at your own computer in your pajamas these days, Mary, and get into to trouble out there. Before we do that, we're going to talk about shopping online in a moment. But we chatted about return policies and things like that. And you mentioned during the break that electronics
can be a little bit different. And this is whether you're actually going into a store, retail, locally, or whether you're ordering online, that sometimes the return policies for electronic or digital devices can be different than other items. For example, there may be a shorter return period if there is a return policy, or if you're returning it in order to get a refund or store credit, it may need to be in the original packaging.
That seems like a big one.
Unopened, unused. So be careful of that. Also with some larger electronic items, perhaps a TV, if you return it, of course, there are the initial guidelines, but there may also be restocking fees. So if you're purchasing items like this, whether online or in a store, know what the return policies are so that you can keep the appropriate receipts, packaging as necessary.
That surprise that you run into, you know, everybody hates that. Oh, surprise, that's going to be $60 just to bring it back.
Right. Well, see, I did that once. I bought a small electronic device, and I didn't try it for after a month. I thought, I should have tried it sooner, and it didn't work. It was broken. And so I went back to the store, but then I noted very clearly on my receipt, it said no returns or refunds after 30 days. So that was my fault. I did not read it. It was very clearly stated.
Yeah, read the big print as well as the fine print. Okay. Shopping online. A lot of us like to do it. The convenience is incredible, and I think we know why so many people do it. But there can be problems there too. Tell me what some of the bigger concerns are.
And some of these things we're talking about, Brad, whether it's going to the stores or online, apply any time of year. But of course, we're shopping more during the holidays. But online, we've got Cyber Monday coming up, which is the Monday after Thanksgiving, which actually in 2011 was the biggest online shopping day of the year with $1.25 billion in sales.
Incredible.
22% over 2010. So it's a big shopping day.
It kind of kickstarts that I can order it and still make sure it's here through the mail. It just that motorcycle starts running on Monday after.
It does. Or maybe individuals have been shopping on Black Friday or throughout the weekend after Thanksgiving and couldn't find the item they wanted and decide to go online.
Okay. Yeah. Big day.
Big day. So if you're online ordering, know the website you're using. Make sure you can trust it, whether it's trust marks or you're familiar with it, or check with Better Business Bureau. That's really how we can assist. Our services are free to the public, so people can call us, they can go online, say all they have is the website and they don't know where the company's located. They just go to our main national website, bbb.org, and check on a company anywhere in Puerto Rico, the United States, or Canada, or check on a charity anywhere in the United States. So make sure you're familiar with the website. Look at their terms and conditions. Now, some slimy, as we said before, websites might have terms and conditions that if you purchase something, maybe you're also purchasing a monthly service agreement. Maybe their privacy policy says that they'll sell your name and contact information to whomever and whatever company they want. So know the company that you're dealing with. Read the information on there. Check with BBB. Also, make sure if you're ordering online, particularly if it's a company you're not familiar with, you have the contact information for the company. And I don't just mean the website.
Right.
I mean the actual physical address and phone numbers. So say you purchase something and then you have a problem, you go back and the website's gone.
Right. You're done.
You're done.
Yeah, you need a place. Think in terms of if I have to report these people, either to the BBB, maybe even to law enforcement, how would I do it?
How would you do it?
Make sure you can fill that in.
Right.
I want to ask you something that you just said that I see, because I do quite a bit of online shopping with different places that I don't normally at this time of year. And I think a lot of people do. And that is, and I don't know if this is different by state, if there's a federal standard, but very often these days on these shopping websites, usually toward the end, you'll find several checks that you can either check or uncheck that will ask you, may we forward your contact information and those. Is that a law? Do some states require that? Are they doing it just to be nice, or combination of all of the above?
It's probably a combination, Brad. I cannot answer that with 100% certainty, but there are Federal Trade Commission guidelines in terms of advertising and clears. That's not to say that unethical websites or website owners sometimes care about the law. You know, maybe they're just putting it up there, get the money they want, close the website down, and move on.
And that's exactly my point, because it makes me feel better when I see those. But then I thought, well, how binding is that?
Right.
You know, I thought, well, that really doesn't, I don't know if that means legally anything.
Well,
but it makes me think, okay, they're on the level.
It gives you some idea of what's being addressed.
Right.
What are their terms and conditions? And it's very important to read those very carefully, just like you mentioned the little checks, because you never know which way they're going to be checked. Like, is it checked if you want to receive their materials? Or is it checked if you don't want to receive their materials?
Kind of like reading some of our recent ballot propositions.
Right. So
I don't know what this means.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to read it to see which way it is to know whether or not you want it checked or unchecked.
Okay. One more thing to be careful about.
It is. And maybe when you get to the point you think, well, maybe I don't want to do business with this company. And that's what you need to look at. 2, when you're ordering online, when you get to that page where you're inputting that personal and financial information, such as your credit card number, etc., you want that to be a secure website. So in the URL, which is the web address, that line at the top that has the web address, you want to make sure it says HTTPS. You want that S to be there, indicating it's a secure website.
Okay, and I'm pretty well guaranteed that that's the case if I see that.
You hope so. Yes, it should be.
Good indicator.
Yes. The second thing you want to look for, and you'll generally see this on websites too, if you see that HTTPS, you also want to look for the symbol for a closed lock, which is usually in the lower right-hand corner. There's some websites where you may not see that, but those are the 2 things you want to look for. And if you're really computer savvy, there are ways you can check to see if it actually is encrypted.
Okay. Okay, sure, right.
You know.
It seems, I think most of us will take, you mentioned several layers of protecting ourselves, and I don't want to say necessarily the big ones, but there are some that are very familiar that I think have a pretty good track record.
Yes.
And maybe sticking kind of in that herd.
Right.
Will generally kind of.
Without mentioning any particular websites, yes, they're the ones that maybe you've frequented, have great customer service you trust.
Right.
Fine.
Right.
But there are those, and we're shopping during the holidays, that we may not be familiar with. And I'll give you an example. Last week I was looking for something locally, and I couldn't find it. So I went online to purchase it because I had seen an article about it in a magazine, a publication that I trusted very much. So I went to the website and I started looking for the item I wanted and thought, okay, I'll order it. But then I thought, oh, wait, Mary, you didn't check the BBB website yet to see what this website's track record is, because I had never used it before. So we did have a Better Business Bureau business review on it, And I changed my mind about doing business with the company
Just
because they had had over 700 complaints during the last 3 years, a lot of them with the same issues, items not being delivered.
And you found that on the BBB website.
And I found that on the BBB website.
We've got to take a break, Mary. BBB.org, the place to go. A very, very good reference for the things that Mary's talking about today. We'll take a short break. Back with Mary Hawks after this.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Yes, ready, ready. Go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to the program. Again, our guest, Mary Hawks, BBB.org, Better Business Bureau, and online it's BBB.org, a wealth of information.
Very much.
And there's so much we didn't get to on the show today, but hopefully planting seeds and helping people understand. There's one other thing. A lot of folks at this time of year, Mary, will be giving charitable gifts.
Yes.
Tell me what to kind of look for when we do that.
If it's a charity you know and trust and have given to before, a local charity that you know about, that's one thing. But let's say you get an appeal from an organization you've never heard of, but it tugs at your heartstrings and you want to give money. You want to check that charity out. The Better Business Bureau, our Wise Giving Allowance, every quarter publishes the Wise Giving Guide that you were just showing, and it will show for those, particularly national charities that solicit nationally, whether or not they meet the 20 standards for charitable accountability.
Very handy to have.
Yes, very much. And this is available online, or we can mail this out to people too.
Mary, 1 minute left in our program. We're going to unleash the shopping hordes here in just a few days after Thanksgiving. If there's one thing you could impart to our listeners about having a safe and happy holiday, from a consumer perspective, what would it be?
The one thing we haven't talked about is consumers should seriously consider using their credit card for purchases rather than their debit cards.
What's
the
that?
credit card offers more protections that the debit card does not. And it's that really there in a nutshell. Or say the example we gave before, you purchase something, you're charged twice, you know that's wrong, you can't resolve it with the vendor, you can file a dispute with your credit card company directly.
You simply have more options.
You have more options of protection using that credit card.
Mary, thank you so much for the work you do with us all through the year,
Thank you, Brad.
Everybody out there, but especially holiday time. A lot of things to be careful of and to ensure that you do have a very good, happy, safe, and prosperous holiday and a good new year. Mary Hawks, our guest today, the Better Business Bureau, and BBB.org. We thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This has been County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting Station.